Hello, ASC Care Network. I'm Jerald Cosey. This week, we have Senior Vice President of Operations, David Alexander, with us today. Hello, David. How are you today?
Good. How are we doing? And how are we doing to our ASC family?
All righty. I'm sure they're all doing great. So we had an outstanding retreat. What are your thoughts coming out of it a couple weeks later?
Oh, it was a blast, Gerald. It was full of energy, emotion. I think too a big piece was just getting back together again. A comment I made, after the first night after the awards was seeing everybody's smiles, seeing people hug each other, high five each other. It was just great to be back in a room together and be focused on what we all do best and the passion for the business that we have.
Absolutely. It's great to get back to the business of senior healthcare. I was talking with one of our leaders after the retreat, and he said, Jerald, we didn't have a lot of new stuff, but what I enjoyed was we took time to dig into what we know.
Yes.
And to really try and find a way to do it better. Coming out of the retreat, we want to make sure that we're continuing this momentum. Where do you see us going post-retreat?
That's a great question. And, Gerald, it's something that we have really thought thoroughly in the last stages in the planning when we were coming up to the retreat. Because one of the biggest areas actually I felt of our past retreats was that we carry momentum for the first couple months. And then I always quote what Kelly Holder did in our very first retreat. The sharks come out and they get us, and we end up falling back into a little bit of our area that we were in. We lose some of that momentum and speed. So, this retreat, as you said, when you talked about that, we didn't really teach anything new, and it was very true. And so this really plays into how do we keep the momentum when we move forward. We obviously the retreat was solely focused on retention and taking better care of ourselves, and in return be able to take better care of our employees, and assuring that they're valued, that they're respected, and that we have tools and systems in place for a bunch of different things that we want them to be able to state that why ASC is such a valued, trusted employer and why they, stay with ASC. So as we continue that momentum, there is a committee that's been formed here at the home office that was kind of the retreat planning committee to help keep things moving and pulling things out from the retreat that we saw, whether it's stuff within the monthly updates and things like that. But, one of the biggest things that we released on the last day, and we are going to do some messaging around this, but we released a care pledge. We asked that before each meeting, we say the care pledge. And really what that is it's a repetition and cue and reminder why we do what we do. And so it's that reminder every day that I am here to care for my employees. I'm a care companion, and all that great stuff that we've rolled out and we know works. It works well. And you walk in a building and the care companion culture is alive and fluent within the employee piece of the business as well as the resident care part of the business. That's where the magic happens, and it is just unbelievable with the results you can see. So the momentum's going to come a lot from the leader. We talked a lot about them being the lead drummer. We left with everybody to lead with a drumstick to have on your desk, put it in a drawer, and we'll pull that out and remember that you are the one that sets the tone. The leaders of the day, you make or break it. You keep the rhythm going or you break the rhythm.
Wow. So I really love the care pledge thought process. This is such an emotionally draining career space. It's also extremely emotionally rewarding. But when we take time every day to revisit our care pledge, it allows us to re-up, if you will, and to refuel and to refocus, because we have so many distractions. And really, when it's all said and done, it just comes down to good old-fashioned providing care and loving on people.
That it does, Gerald. Sometimes we make the business more difficult for ourselves by forgetting about the basics. And, we've talked, Alicia and I talk a lot about just keep it simple, keep the basics alive and watch what happens. We sometimes can overcomplicate the business because the business is so complicated.
Yes.
But sometimes we get lost in the complexity and forget that if we just keep the details and the small things in front of us, the big things start to take care of themselves.
While we have an audience today, I want to make sure that we recognize all those individuals who played a part in the retreat. You know who you are. We all know who you are, and I want you to know how much we appreciate it and how much value it brought to the organization. You've been spending a lot of time, David, talking about rhythm. Can you expound upon that?
Sure, sure. Well, rhythm leadership, when we described it, it's the pulse of an organization. It's what keeps an organization alive and keeps it moving forward. And we use the analogy of a lead drummer because that's when the rhythm starts. So anytime that there's a band, the drummer obviously starts it off and keeps the beat moving.
Yes.
The rhythm also sets the pace. What is the tone? What's the tone of the day? What's the tone of your pace? Where's the urgency at in the pace? It's asking yourself questions. Is the rhythm on the right pace? Is it in the right tone? Is it in the right beat? Am I getting what I want out of my rhythm? So there's a lot of times that we look at leadership and we think of ourselves just kind of being more, I don't want to say directing, that's not the right word I'm looking for, but we forget about the unforeseen, the invisible part of our leadership, which that's what I call the rhythm. That's that internal beat that comes out of you as a leader when you move forward. So it's just making sure that you're aware of your rhythm, and it's going to get out of tune. It happens. But as long as we're aware of our rhythm, we can get back on beat to where we need to be.
I follow you, and I keep hearing in my mind being intentional about creating a rhythm, maintaining a rhythm, and being aware of the rhythm that we're projecting to our audience members.
Yes, for sure. It definitely is a visible aspect, but it's created internally.
As we talk about our future and our culture, what excites you right now about the direction of our culture?
It's the passion that I see in the individuals. When we get to that retreat, it's great to have everybody in one big room. And what I get to do that folks don't get to do is the privilege to stand in front of everyone and not to relay a message, which I love doing, but it's the fact that I get to see the eyes and the faces have this integrity part of passion that is what we do, and you can just see that. And it's the fact of pulling that out of folks and getting to bask in the light that it shines upon us.
Through this pandemic, we were all cooped up and separated, and to be quite honest, isolation started to have an impact on us. And it's just so healthy to see our peers. When working in a very emotionally demanding career space, there's also a great deal of emotional connections, and coworkers become friends and become family, quite honest. And the power of just sitting next to a friend and saying, hey, I got your back, and I'm glad we're here today. And you know what, let's collectively go after this goal as leaders within this organization, and let's commit to finishing at the top.
Yep, you're right. And you brought it right to one of the point of topics that we talked about what makes an engaged employee. And one of the key areas is having relationships with your colleagues. And, if you don't have that, because of the amount of emotional connections that we have, if that's not strong, that plays a huge part. It can affect your rhythm. If the leaders recall, when we did the retention road shows prior to the retreat, there was 9 areas that we spent time on, and those 9 areas form your rhythm. If you go back and review those in that PowerPoint presentation, those 9 areas will start to form what rhythm we want as a company as we focus on our employees.
Ask you, do you have any final comments that you would like to share with the ASC Care Network today?
Sure, Jerald. Thanks. First, Jerald, let me thank you for doing this and getting this off the ground. And, it was a concept that you and I spoke about a while back. I thought it'd be a great way to connect to our folks. So thank you for doing this, as well as all the leadership coaching that you do. As far as last message I could leave for our leaders out there is a couple things. We talked about keeping it simple and keeping it basic. Please do. We need to stay focused on the details that are in front of us and the basics, and that will get us return in the long run for sure. Secondly, you have to take care of yourself. Talk about taking care of the mind and taking care of the heart. If that's either one of those isn't there, again, we're going to be out of tune and be off rhythm. And then lastly, have fun. You got to have fun with it. Smiles are contagious. And having fun with this is something that's a strong passion of mine. When we're having fun, typically our productivity is a little bit better, and it just makes life a little easier. So, take care of yourselves, have fun, focus in on the details, and I assure you the success will be unbelievable when we get to the end of this year.
Well, David, thank you for being with us today. Thank you for your leadership. As our Senior Vice President of Operations, I know you've been through a lot, like all of us, the last 3 years. And I know that I speak for my peers and all those folks in the ASC Care Nation, Care Network Nation, when we say thank you for your leadership.
That's my privilege.
All righty. So ASC Care Network, as we always say with every close, remember, there is nothing more honorable than placing the needs of someone else before your very own. Thank you for everything you do, and let's continue to advance senior healthcare, more specifically ASC Nation forward. Take care.